find spiritual connection in so many different ways. A lot of people find that connection with the divine by going to religious services, like at a church or a synagogue or a mosque. Others find it at home with prayer or meditation. But very few people seem to maintain that spiritual connection with what I call the divine presence outside of those spiritual practices. And instead, they get caught up in life and work and survival, and their everyday existence makes them forget about their focus, or the focus that they had when they were at the religious service or when they were praying or meditating. And maybe like them, you feel spiritually connected when you focus on or are involved in some sort of a spiritual practice. And that's when you can feel the divine presence in and around you. And but once you are done with that spiritual practice, you lose the focus and therefore you feel disconnected. So here's the thing: you are where your attention is. So where you are where your attention goes. So if your attention is on God, or whatever name you use for divinity, so God, Allah, Source, all it is, whatever. When you're focused on that, you experience spiritual connection. You consistently feel the divine presence. On the other hand, if you stop focusing on the spiritual side of your life, if you don't pay attention to it, you're going to feel as though it doesn't exist anymore. But you can become more conscious of your spiritual connection when you're not involved in spiritual pursuits. You can feel the divine presence anytime and anywhere if you just focus on its presence. Intentionally look for the divine in everyday life. Now, the name you use for divinity doesn't matter. What really matters is that you place your attention on it. And then you're going to see and feel the divine presence everywhere, all the time. So let's talk about this term divine presence, because it may not be one you typically use when referring to God. And again, there's so many names for divinity: God, Allah, Krishna, Buddha, Adonai, Jehovah, just to name a few. Judaism has 72 names for God. But most of the religious names we've been taught don't make us feel close or connected to God. And most people think of God as far away or up in the heavens, or not easily reached. Plus, the word God for some people has negative connotations. And that's why one reason why the term God has been replaced for many people with other terms like source, creator, all that is, the universe, right? These terms don't bring with them all the baggage from our religious upbringings. Now, but to me, the name divine presence is a relatable name for God. The word divine refers to something of or related to God or a supreme being. It's a term that has no connection to one religious tradition. And some people might object to the concept of a supreme being, but most spiritual and religious traditions do acknowledge a source or creative energy that emanates through all of creation. And even scientists now claim that there's something beyond what they can understand that holds everything together. Now, the word presence means to be close in proximity to something, or the state or fact of existing, occurring, or being present in a place or in a thing. So I think of the divine presence as always close in proximity to me and present in my life. The divine presence is a name for God that I can connect with. I can develop a connection to. I can talk to and be with, and feel around me, right? It's divinity that I can be in relationship with easily. After all, it exists in the here and now, right? Even if I can't see it, in fact, it even exists within me. And the same goes for you. You can feel the divine presence anytime and anywhere. You can become aware of it anytime and anywhere. So, what I want to do is I want to go through 12 tips to help you experience the divine presence, because you can become aware and experience the divine presence even when you're involved in mundane day to day activities. And of course, you have to place your attention on your spiritual connection intentionally and consistently. Okay, so it's all about that. You have to be placing your attention, your focus on this divine connection. Okay, so these 12 tips are going to help you connect with the divine presence at work, or while doing your shopping, or driving home, or spending time with colleagues or friends or family. They're going to help you feel that spiritual connection no matter what's happening in your life. Okay? All right. So, tip number one is to make time for the divine presence throughout the day. So, despite the fact that everyone these days feels too busy to add anything to their schedule, it's possible to take a kind of time out for God, a time out for Source or the divine presence periodically during the day. If, for example, you could set your your phone to alarm to ring every hour, and when the alarm rings, you simply look around, become aware of the divine presence, that it's everywhere and everything. So no matter what you see, you're seeing the divine presence. So try to feel the divine presence in that moment, or even just to notice it in my dog sitting over here in the chair, joining me while I videotape, and the tree that's beginning to leaf out, in the people working on the house behind me, all of it, right? And the pollen that's causing me to have allergies. Okay, tip number two is to bless the divine. Use the same technique described in tip number one. So taking a time out for the divine presence. Only this time, when the alarm rings, offer some sort of a silent blessing for something that you see or something happening at that moment. Okay. So blessings provide this really wonderful and powerful tool for connecting with the divine throughout the day, which is probably why in Judaism, you're supposed to say 100 blessings a day. 100. The act of actually saying a blessing focuses your attention on the divine, and in the process of that, you become aware of the divine presence. So bless others, bless yourself, bless God. You can say a blessing before you eat a snack or drink your coffee or eat your lunch. Many religious traditions have, say grace or prayers over the meals. Say blessings randomly when you see a rosebud, or you have a near miss in traffic while you're driving, or when you see your child smile, or when you get a kiss from your dog. Okay, tip number three is use a simple blessing format. You can come up with your own, but over the years, I've used a Jewish format for blessing, and you might find it useful. It's very simple, and it's not related to Judaism, really. So Jewish blessings tend to be a way of blessing God or the divine presence while you're saying what you're grateful for. So each blessing follows the same format. Blessed are you, God, Source, divine presence, whatever you want to call it, for giving us blank. And you fill in the blank with anything. So you could fill it in with, my children used to, if we saw a rainbow, my children would say, blessed are you, God, for giving us this rainbow, or blessed are you, God, for creating this flower, or blessed are you, God, for providing us with the money to go clothes shopping for school, right? So in the same manner, you can offer prayers of gratitude to Source, to the divine presence. Gratitude is the strongest prayer you can offer. And so just remember to thank the divine presence frequently. Okay, tip number four is to make prayer part of your everyday life. So prayer can be informal and sound like a conversation with the divine presence. It doesn't have to be out of a prayer book or anything like that. And you can have that conversation all day long. All day long. So, for example, you could ask for assistance for reaching a desired outcome every time you write an email or start a business deal. You can request to arrive safely at your destination when you're driving your car or flying on an airplane. Just do that when you start out. or pray for health and happiness and love. Prayers are you speaking to the divine presence. It's how you develop a relationship with Source. So tip number 5 is to talk to God. It goes right along with this. With tip number 4, talk to the divine presence. You can do this anytime, not just when you're praying. Talk to the divine presence when you're, exercising, riding your bike, sitting on your patio, going for a walk. Simply open up and speak to the divine about what's on your mind and in your heart. And I suggest doing it when you are in movement, but you can do it sitting on your bed or wherever, right? But just have a conversation. Don't see it as such a formal thing as having to say a prayer. All right, number 6 is to create sacred space in your home. Creating sacred space is a powerful way to invite the divine presence into your life and to increase your consciousness of the divine. So you can designate a space in your home as sacred. It can be a little table with a nice white cloth over it, or it can be an entire room. It doesn't really matter. You can add crystals and photos of ancestors and symbolic objects, or make your entire home a sanctuary. This is what I like to do. It's why I've spent time and money having people come and work on my yard, which at the moment doesn't look good because I haven't been here yet this spring. But also inside the house, I like to have it feel like a sanctuary for me and for anyone who enters it. And having your home be a sanctuary keeps your focus on spiritual connection and helps you feel you are in a church or a mosque or a synagogue all day, every day. Okay, number 7 is to create a sacred space in your office. Now, workplaces don't typically feel spiritual, at least not in my experience, but you can turn your office into a sacred space with just a few small touches. It can be as simple as placing a candle on your desk and lighting it every morning when you start work. When you enter your office or your cubicle, you can even say a short prayer when you light the candle and ask to feel and see the divine presence during your workday. Now, if you aren't allowed to burn candles in your office, try incense. That's no good. You can use spray scents. Like I have sprays of lavender and sage, and you can even sage your whole office and clear the energy before you start the day. Or use an aromatherapy diffuser, I think they're called, where you put the scent into the water and it blows that out into the air. You can even anoint yourself with scented oils before you begin work. I like to do that a lot. I have lots of different oils and I'll put them on myself before I start work. Or you can play soft music or place sacred objects on your desk, or even crystal or stone is going to do the trick. The point is to make space for the divine presence to join you during the workday. When you create a sanctuary for yourself and the divine presence in your office, work takes on a spiritual nature. Okay, tip number 8 is to intend to have work feel spiritual. So staying on the work topic, intention offers a really often overlooked focus and energy. When you set an intention, you send energy towards whatever it is you want to create. So when you wake up, when you say prayers, or when you begin your workday, voice your intention to feel and see the divine presence every day. Just before you enter your office, for instance, in the doorway, like if you can't do any of the other things I suggested, when you're standing in the doorway, voice your intention to feel and experience the divine presence as you perform your tasks at work. Number 9 is to listen to the divine presence. So while prayer is speaking to the divine presence, meditation is listening to it. So when you arrive at work, sit down at your desk, say a short prayer, and then meditate for a minute or two, and then pay attention. Pay attention. What do you hear? What do you see in your mind's eye? Or what do you feel? Meditate for a minute or two several times per day. It doesn't take long, right? You can just close your eyes for a minute and just meditate. Nobody's going to notice. And then you pay attention to the messages you receive and how much more aware you become of the divine presence just by meditating a few times a day and listening for the divine presence. Number 10 is to do karma yoga. So this involves perceiving the tasks you complete as karma yoga, as work done for God, for source, for all that is, for the divine presence. And that intention and interpretation changes how you feel about work related tasks, as well as chores and shopping and fulfilling commitments and even parenting. If you do all the things you do with a spiritual focus and the intention of doing them from a place of being conscious and connected to the divine, you're always going to be doing spiritual work. You're always going to be doing karma yoga. And as a result, you're always going to feel connected to the divine. I love this one. Number 11 is to create a to-do list for the divine. So it's common to have a to-do list that's so long that it feels overwhelming, right? But you can assign some tasks on that list to the divine presence or to source or God. So make a to-do list with 2 columns. You put one column, one line down the page, and the first column is your to-do list, and the second one is the to-do list for the divine presence. I learned this practice from Esther Hicks, who offers the teachings of Abraham. Most of you probably are familiar with her. And when you see God's to-do list along with yours, next to yours, the divine presence is working, in your life all the time. Number 12, the final tip, is to remember who you are. Always remember that you're a spiritual being having a human experience. Inside you lives a divine, pure soul and spirit. It's part of the divine, you are, both of those are part of the divine presence. You, at your core, your essence, are part of the divine presence. And you have, because of that, you maintain a constant connection to source. So see the divine presence in yourself and in others. As you connect in that way, seeing the divine within yourself and within others, you connect with the divine presence. You feel your divine essence, and you experience it in other people as well. So remember that you are always connected, because you're a spiritual being having a human physical experience. You're always spiritually connected. It's impossible to be disconnected from source, because that's your essence, is to be part of source. Your soul and your spirit are part and parcel of all that is, of the divine. And so there's no way to be disconnected ever. So to experience the divine presence in your life daily, remind yourself of who you are. Might be the most powerful tip. Just remind yourself of who you are. At your essence, you are spiritual. Therefore, you're connected to and one with the divine, right? So focus on that fact, and you're going to experience the divine presence every day, every day. So I'd love to know how you experience the divine presence, or God, or all that is, or whatever you call it. I'd love to know how you do that. Maybe you have other tips beyond the tips that I've offered today. And so leave them down below. Or if you have questions about connecting with the divine, I can't tell you that, I always feel the divine presence around me. I have to work at it. I have to be conscious and aware of the fact that the divine presence is all around me. It's within me, and it's working in the universe, working in this world in which I live. So if you have questions about that, leave them down below, and I'll answer to the best of my ability. If this is your first time experiencing me, I am Nina Amir. I'm known as the Inspiration to Creation Coach. I'm an intuitive transformational catalyst or coach, and also a certified high performance coach. I offer a unique combination, I believe, of personal and spiritual growth when I work with people either one-on-one or in my Inspired Creator community. The link for that is up above, as is the link for transformational coaching and certified high performance coaching. It's all in the same link. And I really do believe that we have to take a holistic approach. We can't just do personal development or personal growth or just spiritual growth, because we are a combination of both. We are we are human beings or spiritual beings having a human experience. So we have to address both sides, or both aspects, especially if you would like to reach your human potential as well as your spiritual potential. So I love to help people get from where they are to where they want to go by getting out of their way, by choosing new identities to help them be the type of person who can do the things, take the actions that create what they desire and what really matters to them. So if any of that's of interest to you, I'd love it if you would reach out to me. You can do that. I'm going to put another link above for a free 15-minute session with me. So reach out if you want to discuss my coaching or topic of this video. Reach out to me and let's have a 15-minute chat, okay, and get to know each other. So that's it for today. Until I talk to you next time, as always, go out there and achieve more inspired results.